Hello again. I'm putting a e36 m44 engine into the e30. So this video will be about explaining what I've done to the engine just to get it ready to go in, because it's not a straightforward drop in, and things are evolving, as you'll see if you watch the rest of the video. The car has got, I've got to get rid of the oil pipes from the dry sump, but that will come along later. So hopefully this helps if you're thinking about doing the same thing. This is how I've done it. I'm not saying this is the right way of doing it, it's just the way I've done it. We've got the M44 ready to go into the E30, but the M44 is from a 316 E36, sorry, a 318 Ti it's from. And it's got the sump, the lower part of the sump is at the back of the engine, whereas on the E36 the lower end of the sump needs to be on the front of the engine. So I've had it draining overnight to get the oil out of it. I'm going to spin it over, take the sump off, put a E30 sump, 4-cylinder sump and oil pickup on, and then see how we get on putting it in the engine bay with engine mounts and the steering column and the exhaust manifold. This is the E36 sump with the bowl at the rear, and this is the E30 sump with the bowl at the front, and it's got a removable bottom end that comes off. I've given it a clean. I've spent I'd say a couple of hours on it. It's hanging on the outside, but we're clean on the inside. I could spend probably another couple of hours on it, but as long as the inside's clean, once I put it on, I can always clean the outside when it's all in. I am on a time limit, so I'll get the important bits clean, and get it all together. We've got the sump on now, but that does come with other problems. We've got a dipstick, and there is the hole there, so we're going to have to find a way of getting the dipstick into there. We're not far off. I'm sorry about the light. I think we need to put a few bends in it and a little kink, keep it away from the belts. I've just put a bit of cloth in the dipstick hole. I'll get the dipstick. Now, to enable the dipstick to go in, I know it's going to have to be bent. I'm going to have to move the tensioner, the auxiliary belt tensioner. I have one bolt holding the alternator bracket on, so I've got I have to put the dipstick in and then drop the alternator bracket on. There's no way that's coming out with the bracket on, it won't do it. So I've sort of bent it. The way I bent it was I put it up the engine stand, put my foot on here and just sort of gave it a twist. It's quite easy to bend. You don't want too many bends in because you have problems getting the dipstick in. So I'm going to put the tensioner back on. I don't want to bend it and then find I can't get the tensioner on, so I presume I'll have to put the tensioner on and fix it all together. I'm going to do that now, and then once I know that the tensioner fits, I can probably bend this with all this fitted back on again, so I'll give that a go. That's the dipstick on. That was quite a lot more work than I remember it being. I think the rally car doesn't have a water pump, it has an electric water pump. So I've just got the crank and the alternator on a pulley, so it makes it a lot easier. There is a couple of cable ties on the old bracket, just going through a mount, holding it in place, and it is very close, but there is a bit of play in it. So I've got to get the oil filter top off. I presume there was a plastic nut on there that's been stripped, so I might have a bit of fun doing that. And I think I'm going to take the bottom of the sump off, just to check to see that no crap's gone down there, because it is quite dirty, and I've had the dipstick in and out. So I've had a bit of cloth in there to bung it while I was drilling, to make a hole for the cable ties to go through. Yeah, but I think that's the dipstick done. Once I've changed the oil filter, I can always cable tie that round here. Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully that's going to stay as it's left. Before I put the engine in, there's a few bits and pieces that need sorting out. It's a lot easier on the stand. I can find the bit for that. I know I bought another one, but it was a couple of years ago. I might replace, I mean, these they break down, you know, they get old and brittle, and it is quite an old engine now. So I'll just give it a quick once over, check all the pipes. Some of them are a real pain to get to once it's in the car. There's one on the back, which is that one there. They snap and they're not much fun. In fact, I might do away with that and just bung it. I'm not using a heater. If I bung that, I don't need the inlet manifold to be cooled, so I can bung that. If I just have in and then out, and there will be one coming off the pipe underneath the engine to go to the top of the radiator, or the expansion tank as it'll be on this. I've taken the inlet manifold off, and along with that came a lot of the wiring. It's just a lot easier. I've got to make engine mounts, which is going to be really hard to get to with the inlet manifold on. I am tempted to go straight to the throttle bodies, but that means making a airbox for the airflow meter to go onto. We'll see how much time I've got. What I can do is get it in the engine bay like this, work on the engine mounts, and then see how much time I've got left. But just as when I took everything off, it's quite rusty, this. Oh, it hasn't gone through. It's a big old steel block, this, so it should be pretty tough. Yeah, fuel pipes were bad. The pipe that comes out the back just broke to pieces, it was so brittle. The vacuum pipe was gone. Yeah, it just would have been problems later on, so I'm glad I've taken it off so I can go right through it now. I'm going to block this up. I'll leave that one on, block that, block this. Don't need all those. I'm not using the heater. I think I'll give it a hoover, get the dust off it before I do any more work on it. The bit that came out the back of the head, I've cut the ends off. Rather than block both off, I thought I'd just cut the end off, stick this on, block it up that way. They are really hard work to get to when they're in the car, so I might as well do it now whilst it's accessible. That's the end bunged, and those two are bunged, so that's the water pipe sorted out. The flywheel I'm using is off a e30 325i, and that had a lot of the weight taken off it. A friend of mine skimmed it. Cheers, Andy. It's a clutch that was on another car. It hasn't been on for long, so it hasn't done much use. I've got a release bearing, so that's the flywheel and clutch sorted out. That's the engine pretty much sorted out, ready to drop in. I'll put the either throttle bodies or the inlet manifold on once it's in the engine bay. It'll just make it easier to get access to everything else. I'm going to use an e36 gearbox, prop shafts, bits and pieces, so that will be in the second part. I'm conscious the video is getting quite long, so I'll just stop it here and then carry on with the next bit on the next lot of videos. Hope you enjoyed it anyway. Cheers.